The stars looked different this far from home. Captain Hyunwoo Kang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the endless darkness through the main view screen. His ship had been traveling for 3 months, mapping new routes through unexplored space. They were the first human vessel to reach this sector of the galaxy. "Captain, we're picking up multiple contacts on long-range sensors," said Ji-Woo Nam, the science officer. Her fingers moved quickly across her console. 12 ships military configuration. "They're heading straight for us." Hyunwoo straightened in his chair. "Distance? 2 million kilometers and closing fast. They'll be here in 20 minutes. First Officer Yuna Park stepped closer to Hyunwoo's chair. She kept her voice low. "Sir, we're in neutral space according to our star charts. These could be territorial patrols from the local power. Let's hope they're friendly." Hyunwoo turned to his communications officer. "Hana, prepare a standard first contact message. All languages in our database." Hana Song nodded and began typing. The bridge grew quiet as everyone focused on their stations. The Indomitable was an exploration ship designed to make friends, not enemies. But Hyunwoo knew his vessel carried defensive weapons that could handle most threats. Humanity had learned hard lessons about venturing into the unknown unprepared. The 12 ships appeared on the main screen. They were angular vessels, painted dark red with glowing green markings along their hulls. Each ship was roughly the same size as the Indomitable, maybe slightly smaller. They moved in a tight formation that spoke of military discipline. "They're hailing us," Hana said. "Audio only." "Translating now." A harsh voice filled the bridge. The words came through the computer's translation system with a cold mechanical tone. "Unknown vessel, you have entered territory belonging to the Vorath Empire. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." Hyunwoo felt his crew tense around him. He'd dealt with aggressive first contacts before. The key was to stay calm and professional. "Hana, open a channel." "Channel open, sir." "This is Captain Hyunwoo Kang of the human exploration vessel Indomitable. We are not in Vorath territory according to our charts. This is neutral space. We request peaceful passage to the colonies beyond this sector. We mean you no harm." There was a long pause. Then the harsh voice returned, sounding angry. "There is no neutral space. All space belongs to the Vorath Empire. Your ignorance does not excuse your trespass. You will surrender immediately or you will be eliminated. This is your only warning." Yuna leaned closer to Hyunwoo. "Sir, their weapons are charging." All 12 ships. Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. He hated this part. "Tactical assessment, Yuna. Their weapons are plasma-based, older generation. Their shields are basic electromagnetic barriers. Sir, compared to our technology, they're at least 40 years behind us, maybe more. That doesn't mean we want to fight them," Hyunwoo said quietly. He raised his voice. "Hana, send another message. Tell them we don't want conflict. We'll alter course and leave their space immediately." Hana worked quickly, but before she could send the message, alarms blared across the bridge. "They're firing!" Minji Choi, the weapons officer, shouted. The view screen lit up with incoming plasma bolts. Dozens of bright green projectiles streaked toward the Indomitable. Hyunwoo gripped his armrests, but he didn't flinch. He'd seen weapons fire before. "Shields?" he asked calmly. Do-Hyun Lee, the chief engineer, checked his readouts. "Shields holding at 98%. Those weapons barely scratched our paint, sir." The Vorath ships continued firing. Wave after wave of plasma bolts hammered against the Indomitable's shields. The human crew watched their screens with growing amazement. The alien weapons couldn't penetrate their defenses. "They're moving to surround us," Yuna reported. "Classic encirclement pattern. They're trying to hit us from all sides." Hyunwoo felt a cold anger building in his chest. He'd tried peace. He'd tried diplomacy. These Vorath had responded with immediate violence. Now they were trying to destroy his ship and kill his crew. "Minji, target their weapons systems only. Disable them. Show them we're not easy prey." "Yes, sir." Minji's fingers flew across her console. Railguns armed and locked, firing. The Indomitable's main guns were magnetic accelerators that launched solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. They were simple weapons, really. Ancient human technology refined over centuries. But they were devastatingly effective. 4 Vorath ships exploded almost simultaneously. The railgun projectiles tore through their shields like paper and shredded their hulls. The remaining 8 ships broke formation, clearly shocked. "They're regrouping," Yuna said. "Still attacking. They're not very smart, are they?" Do-Hyun muttered from his station. Hyunwoo felt no satisfaction in this. These aliens had forced his hand. Minji continued defensive fire. Target engines and weapons. Try not to destroy them completely. Understood, sir. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted 47 seconds from the first human shot to the last. 7 more Vorath ships were torn apart by railgun fire. The 12th ship, its engines failing and weapons destroyed, began to retreat. Hyunwoo watched it limp away on emergency thrusters. Let it go, he ordered. They need to report what happened here. The bridge fell silent. The crew stared at the debris field floating where 12 warships had been minutes ago. Hana looked pale. Even Minji, who had fired the shots, seemed shaken. Yuna stepped close to Hyunwoo again. Sir, we should leave immediately. When that ship reports back, they'll send reinforcements. Probably a lot of them. Hyunwoo considered this. Part of him agreed. The smart move was to run, but another part of him, the part that believed in duty and protocol, refused. No, we stay here. Sir? Yuna looked confused. We were attacked without provocation in neutral space. We defended ourselves. That's all. Hyunwoo stood from his chair. Hana, compose a formal complaint to the Vorath Empire government. Include our sensor logs and the full recording of this encounter. We'll wait right here for their response. Captain, that could take days, Yuna protested. Or they might just send more ships to attack us. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. Hyunwoo looked around his bridge. His crew looked worried but determined. They trusted him. We came out here to explore and make contact with new civilizations. We're not going to run away just because the first ones we met were hostile. Humanity doesn't run. Doyun spoke up from engineering. Sir, all systems are green. If more ships come, we'll be ready. Good. Hyunwoo sat back down. Set alert status to yellow. All crew members should rest in shifts. Jiwoo, keep scanning for any approaching vessels. And someone get me a cup of coffee. This might be a long wait. As the bridge crew returned to their normal routines, the Indomitable hung in space like a silent sentinel. Around it, the wreckage of the Vorath ship slowly tumbled through the void. One human vessel had effortlessly destroyed 12 alien warships. In the darkness between the stars, a message was being carried by that lone surviving Vorath ship. A message that would soon spread fear across an entire empire. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and they were far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. The command center of the Vorath Imperial Navy was a massive room filled with holographic displays and hundreds of officers. Admiral Gorvek stood at the center, his forearms crossed as he watched the footage for the third time. The recording came from the sole surviving ship of Commander Thelrax's patrol group. On the screen, the human vessel hung in space like a small moon. It looked almost peaceful. Then in less than a minute, 11 Vorath warships were torn apart by weapons fire. The human ship didn't even move. It just sat there, guns blazing with casual efficiency. This must be a trick, said one of the junior officers. No single ship could do this. Gorvek raised one hand for silence. He'd been fighting wars for 30 years. He knew real combat footage when he saw it. This is no trick. We've encountered something new, something dangerous. What are your orders, Admiral? Asked his second-in-command. Gorvek thought carefully. The Vorath Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They'd conquered hundreds of species. Their military doctrine was simple, overwhelming force. When challenged, they responded with such massive power that resistance became unthinkable. Assemble the 9th Battle Fleet, Gorvek ordered. 200 ships. I'll lead them personally. Sir, isn't that excessive for one alien vessel? The Admiral's eyes narrowed. Watch that footage again. Then tell me if 200 ships is excessive. 3 days later, the 9th Battle Fleet emerged from hyperspace near the border sector. Gorvek stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Fang. Around him, 199 other warships took up battle positions. The human ship was exactly where Thelrax's survivor had said it would be, still waiting. Open a channel, Gorvek commanded. The communication system crackled to life. This is Admiral Gorvek of the Vorath Imperial Navy. You have destroyed 12 of our vessels. This is an act of war. Surrender immediately and you will be shown mercy. Refuse and you will be obliterated. On the Indomitable's bridge, Hyunwoo Kang listened to the translation. He looked tired. 3 days of waiting had been hard on his crew. They'd prepared for this moment, but hoping for battle and facing it were different things. 200 ships, Jiwoo said from her station. Sir, they're serious this time. Hana, send our response, Hyunwoo said quietly. Hana activated the communication system. Hyunwoo's message was simple. This is Captain Hyunwoo Kang. Your ships attacked us first. We defended ourselves. We are still willing to resolve this peacefully. Turn back or we will defend ourselves again. Gorvek laughed when he heard the translation. One ship facing 200 still making demands. These humans were either insane or incredibly stupid. All ships attack Formation Delta. Let's show them the power of the Empire. The Vorath fleet moved forward in coordinated waves. Their formation was beautiful, practiced over centuries of warfare. Each ship knew its position, its role, its target. They'd used this exact attack pattern to break the defenses of a dozen different species. On the Indomitable, Yuna watched her tactical display with growing focus. They're coming in waves. First wave, 40 ships. Second wave, 60 ships. The rest are hanging back, probably to finish us off. Standard doctrine, Hyunwoo said. They want to overwhelm us with numbers. Minji, how are our weapons? All systems ready, sir. Railguns charged. Missile tubes loaded. Point defense active. Remember, we're defending ourselves. Make every shot count. The first wave of Vorath ships opened fire. The space between the two forces lit up with plasma bolts, energy beams, and explosive missiles. It was a storm of destruction that would have obliterated most vessels instantly. The Indomitable's shields flared as the weapons hit. Do-Yun monitored the shield strength from his engineering station. Shields at 85%. These weapons are stronger than the last group, but we're still fine. Target the lead ships, Hyunwoo ordered. Minji, fire when ready. The human response was precise and deadly. Railgun projectiles tore through space at speeds the Vorath couldn't track. Each shot was calculated by advanced targeting computers, aimed at weak points in the enemy ships. Missiles followed the railgun fire, equipped with electronic countermeasures that confused Vorath defenses. 10 ships from the first wave exploded in the opening seconds. The remaining 30 broke formation trying to scatter, but the Indomitable's weapons tracked them with ease. Computer-guided death followed them across the battlefield. Second wave incoming, Yuna called out. 60 more Vorath ships rushed forward. Gorvek watched from his flagship, his confidence beginning to crack. The human ship moved now, its engines pushing it into evasive maneuvers that seemed impossible for a vessel its size. His ships couldn't hit it, but it kept hitting them. All ships concentrate fire on one target, Gorvek ordered. Forget formations. Just kill that ship. 200 Vorath vessels all turned their weapons toward the Indomitable. The amount of firepower they unleashed was staggering. It was enough to destroy a small moon. Hyunwoo felt his ship shake as the shields absorbed the massive assault. Shields down to 40%, Do-Yun shouted. Reroute power from non-essential systems, Hyunwoo ordered. He remained calm, but his hands gripped his armrests tightly. Minji, target their command ship. The big one in the back. Minji's eyes widened. Sir, that's behind their entire fleet. I know. Can you hit it? She studied her console, running calculations. Yes, sir, but I'll need to use the heavy railgun. It'll drain a lot of power. Do it. The Indomitable's main railgun was a massive weapon that ran the entire length of the ship. It could fire a tungsten rod the size of a small car at a significant fraction of light speed. The weapon took 30 seconds to charge and aim. Those 30 seconds felt like an eternity. The Vorath fleet kept hammering the human ship with everything they had. The shields dropped to 20%, then 15%. Captain, we need to back off, Yuna urged. Hold position, Minji. 5 seconds, 3, 2, firing. The heavy railgun fired with a flash that lit up the entire battlefield. The tungsten rod crossed the distance to the Eternal Fang in an instant. It punched through the flagship's shields, through its armor, through its entire structure from bow to stern. The ship exploded in a brilliant fireball. The Vorath fleet stopped firing. For a moment, there was only shocked silence across all communication channels. Their admiral was dead. Their flagship was gone. One shot from the human vessel had done what should have been impossible. Hyunwoo saw his opportunity. Hana broadcast on all channels. Tell them to surrender or retreat. Tell them we don't want to destroy them all, but we will if we must. The message went out. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the Vorath ships began to pull back. Some retreated in good order. Others fled in panic. Within minutes, only 5 ships remained, and they were broadcasting surrender signals. Cease fire, Hyunwoo ordered. His shoulders sagged with relief. Let them go. All of them. Yuna looked at the tactical display in disbelief. Sir, we just beat 200 warships. No, Hyunwoo corrected quietly. We survived 200 warships. There's a difference. He stood from his chair and looked around at his crew. They all looked exhausted. Good work, everyone. Do-Yoon, damage report. Shields took a beating, but they held. No hull damage.
No casualties.
We can fight again if we need to. Let's hope we don't need to. Hyunwoo sat back down. Hana, prepare another message to the Vorath government. Include everything that just happened. Make it clear. We want peace, but we will not be pushed around. As the Vorath ships jumped away to hyperspace carrying news of their devastating defeat, the Indomitable remained at its post. One human ship had now destroyed over 200 alien vessels. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson. Humanity was not to be trifled with. The footage spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Despite the Vorath Empire's attempts to suppress it, the recordings of the two battles reached every corner of known space within days. Species that had lived under Vorath rule for centuries watched in amazement as a single alien ship destroyed hundreds of the Empire's warships with casual ease. On the mining world of Calith Prime, workers gathered in secret to watch the footage on hidden screens. The Calith people had been conquered by the Vorath 200 years ago. They'd been forced to work in the mines, extracting rare metals for the Empire's war machine. Now they watched as their oppressors were humiliated by these mysterious humans. Could this be real? Asked one young Keyleth miner named Velthar. An older worker nodded slowly. The Vorath tried to erase these recordings. That means they're afraid. And if they're afraid, maybe we have a chance. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening. The Vorath Empire controlled over 400 species. Most had forgotten what freedom felt like. But now, seeing the mighty empire bloodied by a single ship, old hopes began to stir. In the Imperial Palace on the Vorath homeworld, Emperor Kalthorax sat on his throne and listened to his advisors argue. The massive chamber echoed with their voices. Some wanted to negotiate with the humans. Others demanded total war. The Emperor himself said nothing, his expression unreadable. Finally, he raised one hand. The chamber fell silent. How many ships do we have available for immediate deployment? His military advisor stepped forward. 2,000 warships, Your Majesty. The entire first assault fleet. Send them all. I want that human ship destroyed. I want its crew captured and brought to me in chains. I want every species in the galaxy to see what happens when you defy the Vorath Empire. Yes, Your Majesty. Aboard the Indomitable, the crew worked to repair minor damage from the last battle. They'd been waiting for a week now and tensions were running high. Everyone knew another attack was coming. The only question was when. Hana Song sat at her communication station, monitoring dozens of channels. Most were standard galactic traffic, but some were encrypted messages directed specifically at the human ship. She'd received over 300 in the past 2 days. Captain, you need to see this, she said. Hyunwoo came to her station. What is it? Messages from species throughout the Empire. They're asking if we're here to liberate them. They're asking if we'll help them fight back against the Vorath. Hana's voice was troubled. Sir, some of them are sending us intelligence. Vorath fleet movements, military bases, supply routes. They think we're starting a rebellion. Hyunwoo felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. We're not liberators. We're explorers. Try telling them that, Yuna said from nearby. She'd been listening to the conversation. Sir, we have a bigger problem. I've been analyzing those intelligence reports. The Vorath are assembling a massive fleet. At least 2,000 ships, maybe more. They're coming for us. The bridge crew fell silent. 2,000 ships. Even with their technological advantage, those were terrible odds. Jiwoo spoke up from her science station. Captain, I've been studying the messages from these other species. The Vorath have ruled through fear for 3,000 years. Their military has never been defeated. But now we've shown that they can be beaten. If we run now, the Empire will hunt us across the galaxy. And all these species who hoped we might help them will be punished severely. If we stay, we'll probably die, Do-Yoon said bluntly. 2,000 ships is too many, even for us. Hyunwoo looked around his bridge. These were good people. The best Earth had to offer. He'd led them out here to explore, not to fight a war. but circumstances had forced their hand. "I won't order anyone to die. This needs to be a choice. We'll vote." Yuna straightened. "Sir? Everyone on this ship gets a vote. Stay and face the Vorath fleet or leave and try to make it back to human space. Majority decides." Hyunwoo pressed the intercom button. "All hands, this is the captain. Report to your section leaders. We're taking a ship-wide vote." For the next hour, the crew of the Indomitable discussed their options. In the mess hall, in the engineering sections, in the crew quarters, debates raged. Some argued for retreat. They'd done their job, sent the data back to Earth, survived impossible odds. There was no shame in leaving now, but others disagreed. They'd seen the messages from the oppressed species. They'd watched footage of Vorath cruelty, of species enslaved and brutalized. And they'd learned something important about themselves. They were human. Running from a fight when others needed help went against everything they believed in. The votes came in. Hana tallied them on her console. When she finished, she looked up at Hyunwoo with tears in her eyes. "Sir, the vote is nearly unanimous. 347 to stay, 8 to leave." Hyunwoo felt pride surge through him. "Then we stay. Do-hyun, what's the status of our experimental systems?" The chief engineer pulled up his schematics. "Sir, we have the FTL disruption field. It's never been tested in combat, but theoretically it should work. We can prevent ships from jumping to hyperspace in a large area around us." "How large?" 10 million kilometers. Maybe 12 if I push it." Yuna saw where he was going. "If we can trap them in normal space, they can't run away. But sir, we also can't run away." "I know, but it levels the playing field. They'll have to fight us on our terms." Hyunwoo stood and walked to the main view screen. "Jiwoo, I need a location. Somewhere we can use to our advantage. Where would be the best place to fight 2,000 ships?" Jiwoo brought up a star chart. Her fingers moved across the display, highlighting various locations. "The Kareth Nebula. It's 12 light-years from here. The nebula will interfere with their sensors but not ours. And it's near the Void Gates." "The hyperspace shortcuts?" "Yes, sir. If the Vorath want to reach human space quickly, they'll need to use those gates. If we control that location, we control access to our territory." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "We make our stand there. Hana, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what we're doing and why. Tell them if we fail, they need to prepare for war." "Yes, sir." "Yuna, plot a course to the Kareth Nebula. Best speed." "Aye, Captain." As the Indomitable's engines powered up, Sung-Ho An gathered his Marines in the armory. They were checking weapons and armor, preparing for the possibility of boarding actions. The Marine commander was a veteran of many battles, but even he felt nervous about what was coming. "Listen up," he told his troops. "We're heading into the biggest fight humanity has ever seen. We might not survive, but we're going to show these Vorath bastards what humans are made of. We're going to show the entire galaxy that we don't back down from bullies. Understood?" "Sir, yes, sir," the Marines shouted in unison. In the medical bay, Suji-Han prepared her facilities for casualties. She organized supplies, checked equipment, and briefed her medical staff. She was a doctor, trained to save lives. But she understood that sometimes to save lives you had to be willing to fight. The ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving the border sector behind. News of their departure spread quickly through the encrypted channels. The oppressed species of the galaxy watched and waited. Some prayed to their gods, others prepared for revolution. All of them wondered the same thing. Would one human ship be enough to break an empire? In 3 days, they would have their answer. The Kareth Nebula was beautiful and deadly. Clouds of ionized gas glowed in shades of purple and blue, stretching across millions of kilometers. The ancient Void Gates stood at the nebula's center, massive structures built by a long-dead civilization. They made hyperspace travel faster, creating shortcuts across the galaxy. The Indomitable took up position near the gates. Do-hyun worked frantically in engineering, making final adjustments to the FTL disruption field. Sweat dripped down his face as he calibrated the experimental system. "How long until it's ready?" Hyunwoo asked over the intercom. 2 hours, maybe 3. "Sir, I need to be honest. This system has never been tested at full power. It might work perfectly or it might blow out our entire power grid. We'll have to risk it. Keep working. On the bridge, Una studied the tactical situation. The nebula would hide them from long-range sensors, giving them a small advantage. But once the battle started, that advantage would disappear. She ran simulation after simulation, and they all ended the same way. The Indomitable would take down hundreds of enemy ships, maybe even 1,000. But 2,000 was too many. We need a miracle, she said quietly. Jiwoo looked up from her console. Or we need to be smarter than them. The Vorath fight with brute force. We need to fight with our minds. You have a plan? The beginning of one. Jiwoo transferred data to the main screen. The Vorath will come through hyperspace in a standard attack formation. They always do. If we position ourselves correctly and use the nebula's interference, we can force them to split their fleet. Divide and conquer, Una studied the plan. It was risky, but it might work. Captain, you should see this. Hyunwoo reviewed Jiwoo's strategy. He made a few adjustments, added some contingencies, then nodded. It's good. Relay it to all stations. Everyone needs to know their role. 3 hours later, Do-Yun's voice crackled over the intercom. FTL disruption field is online. We're ready. All hands to battle stations, Hyunwoo ordered. This is it. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Every person knew their job. Minji armed every weapon system. Taeyang Seo ran final checks on the ship's maneuvering thrusters. Seung-ho positioned his marines at key locations throughout the ship. Suji prepared the medical bay for wounded. They didn't have to wait long. Space rippled as 2,000 Vorath warships emerged from hyperspace. They appeared in perfect formation, a wall of ships that stretched across the sky. At the center flew the Imperial flagship, a massive vessel 3 times the size of the Indomitable. Emperor Kalthorax himself stood on the flagship's bridge. He'd come personally to witness the destruction of the human ship. Around him, his officers prepared for battle. There, he said, pointing at the viewscreen. The human vessel hung alone near the void gates, looking impossibly small against the backdrop of the nebula. 1 ship against 2,000. Their courage is admirable. Their stupidity is absolute. All ships attack formation. I want them obliterated. The Vorath fleet began to move forward. Then suddenly every ship shuddered. Warning alarms blared across 2,000 bridges. Your Majesty, we can't jump to hyperspace, an officer reported in panic. Something is blocking our FTL drives. Kalthorax's eyes widened. What? On the Indomitable, Do-Hyun grinned at his console. FTL disruption field is working perfectly. They're trapped here with us. Good, Hyunwoo said. Now they have to fight on our terms. Minji, begin the opening barrage. Target the command ships. Let's cut off the head of this snake. The Indomitable opened fire. Railgun rounds and missiles streaked across space, targeting the larger vessels in the Vorath formation. 20 command ships exploded in the first minute. The Vorath fleet's coordination immediately began to break down. They're scattering, Una reported. Just like we predicted. The nebula interference is making it hard for them to communicate. Taeyang, move us deeper into the nebula. Use the gas clouds for cover. The pilot's hands flew across his controls. The Indomitable dove into the thick purple clouds, disappearing from the Vorath sensors. The enemy fleet split apart, different groups trying to hunt the human ship through the nebula. First group incoming, Una called out. 300 ships heading straight for us. Wait until they're close, Hyunwoo ordered. The Vorath ships entered the densest part of the nebula, their sensors nearly blind. They were searching for the Indomitable, when it appeared suddenly from the gas clouds, guns blazing. At close range, the human weapons were devastating. 50 Vorath ships were destroyed before they could even return fire. Break off. Move to position Delta, Hyunwoo commanded. Taeyang spun the ship around and accelerated away, the Indomitable's engines leaving a bright trail through the purple gas. The surviving Vorath ships gave chase, firing wildly. But the human pilot was too skilled. He weaved through the nebula like a dancer, always staying 1 step ahead. Second group portside, Una warned. Minji, give them a full missile spread. Then we go dark. Hundreds of missiles launched from the Indomitable's tubes. They scattered in all directions, their guidance systems creating false sensor images. The Vorath fleet fired at the decoys while the real ship powered down its engines and drifted silently through the nebula. Emperor Kalthorax watched in growing rage as his fleet stumbled around the nebula like blind predators. Find that ship. I want every sensor at maximum power. Your Majesty, the nebula interference. I don't care about interference.
Find them?
Hours passed. The battle became a deadly game of cat and mouse. The Indomitable would appear, strike hard, then vanish back into the nebula before the Vorath could coordinate a response. Each attack destroyed dozens or hundreds of enemy ships. The human vessel used the environment perfectly, turning the nebula into a weapon, but the Vorath had numbers on their side. Slowly, despite heavy losses, they began to adapt. They started working in smaller, more independent groups. They set traps trying to predict where the human ship would appear next. "Sir, we're surrounded," Yuna said. Her voice was tense but controlled. 4 groups all converging on our position. 800 ships total. Hyunwoo looked at his tactical display. This was bad. They destroyed over 1,200 Vorath vessels, but the remaining ships had finally pinned them down. "Do-hyun, how much power do we have left?" 60%. "Shields are holding, but we've taken some hits. If we try to break through that formation, they'll tear us apart. Then we go through them." Hyunwoo stood from his chair. "All power to forward shields. Minji, I want continuous fire from every weapon we have. Taeyang, plot a course straight through the thickest part of their formation. We're going to punch a hole and keep going." "Sir, that's insane," Yuna said. "You have a better idea?" She shook her head. "No, sir. Then let's do this. All hands, brace for impact." The Indomitable accelerated to full speed, charging directly at the Vorath formation. The enemy ships opened fire with everything they had. Space lit up with weapons fire as hundreds of ships tried to stop the human vessel. The forward shields glowed white-hot under the assault. Inside the ship, the crew felt the impacts like hammer blows. Systems sparked and alarms wailed, but the Indomitable didn't slow down. Minji's fingers never stopped moving across her console. She fired railguns, missiles, point defense lasers, everything. Ships exploded to the left and right as the Indomitable carved a path through the enemy formation. "Shields at 20%. Do-hyun shouted over the noise. "Keep going," Hyunwoo ordered. They broke through. The Indomitable emerged on the other side of the formation, battered but intact. Behind them, over 200 more Vorath ships were destroyed or disabled. Kalthorax slammed his fist against his throne. "All remaining ships converge on my position. We end this now." The Vorath Emperor's flagship was protected by the last 500 ships of his fleet. They formed a defensive sphere around him, determined to protect their leader. Hyunwoo saw the formation on his screen. "That's it. That's his flagship. Minji, do we have enough power for one more shot from the heavy railgun?" "Barely, sir. But it'll take everything we have left. If we miss, we won't miss." "Charge the gun." The heavy railgun began to charge. The Indomitable's lights dimmed as massive amounts of power flowed into the weapon. 30 seconds felt like an eternity. The Vorath fleet realized what was happening and rushed toward them, desperate to stop the shot. "Firing in 5 seconds, Minji said. 4, 3, 2, 1, firing." The tungsten rod launched at incredible speed. It passed through 3 Vorath ships like they weren't there, then struck the Emperor's flagship dead center. The massive vessel didn't explode immediately. Instead, it simply broke apart, torn in half by the kinetic impact. Emperor Kalthorax died instantly, along with his entire command staff. The Vorath fleet stopped in confusion. Their emperor was dead. Their fleet was broken. Over 1,800 of their ships were destroyed. Hyunwoo's voice echoed across every Vorath communication channel. "This is Captain Hyunwoo Kang of the human vessel Indomitable. Your emperor is dead. Your fleet is defeated. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. Continue fighting and you will all die here. Choose." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the surviving Vorath ships powered down their weapons. 3 weeks after the Battle of the Void Gates, the Indomitable limped through space toward the Vorath homeworld. The ship bore the scars of combat. Burn marks covered its hull. Several sections were sealed off due to damage, but it still flew, still worked, still projected strength. Hyunwoo stood on the bridge watching the alien planet grow larger on the view screen. Beside him, Yuna reviewed reports on her datapad. The aftermath of the battle had been chaotic. "The Vorath government has officially requested a peace summit," Yuna said. "They're offering massive reparations, territory, technology, whatever we want." "What we want is for them to leave us alone," Hyunwoo replied, "and to stop enslaving other species. That's going to be harder to enforce. Sir, we broke their fleet. But they still have millions of ground troops, orbital stations, administrative systems across hundreds of worlds." Hyunwoo nodded. He understood the problem. Military victory was one thing. Building a lasting peace was much more complicated. "Is the diplomatic team from Earth here yet?" They arrived this morning. Fleet Admiral Yoonji Kwan is with them. The name made Hyunwoo straighten slightly. Admiral Kwan was his commanding officer, a legend in the Earth Defense Force. She'd led humanity through its first contact with the Ragelian Collective 20 years ago. If anyone could navigate this situation, it was her. The communication system chimed. Hana looked up. Sir, Admiral Kwan is requesting permission to come aboard. Grant it, and tell her I'll meet her in the docking bay. 20 minutes later, Hyunwoo watched as the shuttle settled into the Indomitable's main hangar. The airlock opened and Admiral Yoonji Kwan stepped out. She was a small woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind her came a team of diplomats and military advisors. Hyunwoo saluted. Admiral, welcome aboard. Yoonji returned the salute, then surprised him by pulling him into a brief hug. You crazy son of a bitch. When I sent you out here to explore, I didn't expect you to start a revolution. Neither did we, ma'am. She stepped back and looked around the damaged hangar. Give me the full tour. I want to see everything. Then we'll talk about what comes next. For the next hour, Hyunwoo showed the Admiral around his ship. She met the crew, inspected the damage, asked detailed questions about every aspect of the battles. In the medical bay, she spoke with Suji about the crew's health. In engineering, she listened as Do-hyun explained the FTL disruption field. On the bridge, she reviewed Jiwoo's tactical analysis of the battles. Finally, they returned to Hyunwoo's ready room. Yoonji sat down and accepted a cup of coffee. Your crew is impressive. You all did something extraordinary here. We did what we had to do, ma'am. No, Yoonji corrected firmly. You did much more than that. You could have run after the first battle. Hell, you could have run after the second battle, but you stayed. You fought, and you broke an empire that has terrorized this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. Hyunwoo sipped his own coffee. What happens now? Now comes the hard part, politics. Yoonji pulled out a data tablet. While you were fighting, the galaxy was changing. 47 different species have contacted Earth requesting diplomatic relations. 12 of them have already declared independence from the Vorath Empire. 3 more are in open rebellion. That's good, isn't it? It's complicated. The Vorath Empire is collapsing, but something needs to replace it. If we're not careful, this entire sector will dissolve into chaos and war. She looked at him seriously. Earth is sending more ships. A full peacekeeping fleet. We're going to need to mediate between dozens of species, help establish new governments, and somehow keep the peace while everyone sorts themselves out. That sounds like years of work. Decades, probably. And we're going to need experienced people to lead those efforts. People who understand both military force and diplomacy. People the galaxy respects. Hyunwoo saw where this was going. Ma'am, I'm just an exploration captain. You were an exploration captain. Now you're the man who defeated the Vorath Empire. Whether you like it or not, you're a symbol. A legend. Every species in this sector knows your name. Yoonji leaned forward. I'm offering you a promotion. Captain of a new diplomatic cruiser. You'll be Earth's representative in this sector, working to build a stable peace. And my crew? Most of them will be promoted as well. Yuna is being given her own ship. Minji, Do-hyun, and Jiwoo are all being bumped up several ranks. We need their expertise, she paused. But if you want them on your new ship, I can arrange that too. Hyunwoo thought about it. Part of him wanted to refuse. He'd done his job. He wanted to go home, see his family, rest. But another part of him knew she was right. The galaxy had changed because of what they'd done. They had a responsibility to see it through. I'll do it, he said quietly. But I want to talk to my crew first. This should be their choice too. Fair enough. You have 3 days before the peace summit begins. Use them wisely. That evening, Hyunwoo gathered his senior officers in the mess hall. He explained Admiral Kwan's offer and the situation in the galaxy. Then he opened the floor for discussion. We started something we need to finish, Jiwoo said. The Khalith people sent us a message yesterday. They're grateful, but they're also scared. They don't know what comes next. We could help them, Do-hyun nodded. I've been talking to some of the species that contacted us. They have interesting technology. If we work with them, share knowledge, we could all benefit. Plus, someone needs to make sure the Vorath don't try to rebuild their empire, Minji added. We broke them, but they're not gone. Yuna spoke up last. Sir, I've been offered my own ship. I'm going to take it. But I'll be serving in this sector too. We'll still be working together, just in different capacities. Hyunwoo looked around at his crew. These people had become like family during their journey. Seeing them willing to continue the mission filled him with pride. Then we stay. We help build the peace we fought for. The peace summit lasted 2 weeks. Representatives from dozens of species gathered on neutral ground to discuss the future. The Vorath sent diplomats who were surprisingly cooperative. They knew their empire was finished. Now they were trying to save what they could. Agreements were reached. The Vorath would release all enslaved species. They would reduce their military. They would join a new galactic council where every species had an equal vote. Earth would provide peacekeeping forces and mediation services. Other species would contribute resources and knowledge. It wasn't perfect. There were still tensions, old hatreds, territorial disputes, but it was a start. On the final day of the summit, Hyunwoo stood in the conference hall and watched representatives from 100 different species sign the peace accords. Hana stood beside him, broadcasting the event to the entire galaxy. "This is history," she said softly. "Yeah, let's hope it's the good kind." 2 months later, the newly commissioned diplomatic cruiser Horizon departed from Earth orbit. Captain Hyunwoo Kang stood on its bridge wearing new rank insignia on his uniform. Around him, most of his original crew had chosen to stay together. Only Yuna was missing, commanding her own vessel nearby. "Course plotted for the Kalith system," Taeyang reported. "Ready when you are, sir." Hyunwoo looked at the view screen where Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. He'd come home briefly, seen his family, explained everything that had happened. They were proud of him, and a little worried. "Any last words before we leave?" Jiwoo asked with a slight smile. Hyunwoo thought about everything they'd been through. The battles, the fear, the losses, but also the friendships, the victories, the hope for something better. "We didn't come to the galaxy to conquer," he said finally. "We came to explore and make friends. But we showed them that humanity won't kneel. Now we get to show them what humanity stands for. Peace, justice, freedom." "That's a tall order," Do-Yun said. "Good thing we have time." Hyunwoo settled into his chair. "Taeyang, take us out. Let's go build a better galaxy." The Horizon's engines flared to life. The ship accelerated away from Earth toward the stars, toward the future. Behind it, more human ships were already being built. Earth was no longer isolated. Humanity had taken its place among the galactic community, and it had done so not through conquest but through strength tempered with mercy. Through power used in defense of the weak, through courage in the face of impossible odds. The galaxy would never forget the day one human battleship changed everything. And in the years to come, they would learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology or its ships. It was its unwavering belief that all beings deserved to be free. The age of the Vorath Empire was over. The age of the galactic community had begun. And somewhere out there, Captain Hyunwoo Kang and his crew were making sure it would be a better age for everyone.